Good morning, everyone. This is Charlotte, and we are chatting in cars. This is the podcast where I talk about random topics. Maybe a very relevant topic for you today. Who knows? I'm going to be backing up. You're going to hear beeping. And later you'll probably be hearing swearing. Because I swear a lot. Trigger warning, these are sensitive topics. I don't hold back on things like that. I think these things should be discussed. Hence the reason I'm giving you fair warning for this one, which is today, which is a very, very important one, actually, I think, as a woman, for today. And it's a very, hot topic right now anyway. The topic for today is, of course, abortion. I will give you fair warning. If you're not happy talking about this topic, you don't have to listen, you don't have to talk about it, you don't have to do anything. You can accept whatever your version of reality is, and you can go on your merry way and go and have a cup of tea and a biscuit or something like that. You don't have to actually approach this topic, particularly if you're a man. This is never a problem for you, really, is it? Oh goodness, here we go. Right, abortion. Oh good gosh. Okay, all right. What is my position? And I know there's going to be a lot of people getting upset about this kind of thing. In America at the moment, they're having this huge fight and election vote thing for the rights of women to abort unwanted pregnancies, of course. I've never had an abortion, but I am pro-abortion, I have to say. It should only ever be a last resort, and believe me, no one ever walks into an abortion on a whim. It is usually some really, really hard slog decision. It is never, I just can't be fucked facing responsibility, so I'm going to do this. I mean, I've had miscarriages, and I know what it's like to have something die inside you and not be able to do anything about it. So, yeah, life and death matters like that for a woman under such stress. You have no idea how horrible it is, really. I mean, it's never done on a whim. As women, we're natural nurturers. We want things to live. We don't want things to die. Even in the workplace, I'm sitting there nurturing someone else's kids. It's like they're not even my kids, and I'm sitting there trying to, give them a life that their parents wouldn't give them. So it's like, as we are, as a feminine, and I mean that in a sex-based, not gender really, because I don't see gender, but I see biologically we're hormonally designed to nurture and care for and promote life. It's not in us to take life. So when we make the decision to take a life, particularly one that's still existing within us, it's a hard decision to make. The problem at the moment right now is you've got people deciding for the women whether they can or not. That is violation of basic human rights. It's not their body to decide who gets to do what with it. It's a control issue. I'm not entirely sure what their arguments are for it. They do say that it's a life, and so it's already conceived, and you're murdering something, apparently. And then there's this whole big debate about what constitutes life, whether the fetus exhibits, a pulse or brain waves or things like that. What is conscious life? Having said that, I know in the UK they've just taken this boy off of life support. He was only about 8. He had done something silly, like he'd done a TikTok and it had gone wrong, and he'd ended up choking himself or something like that. Something ridiculously stupid. This is why I hate TikTok. I really hate it. He was only a baby. He was a baby. But they took him off life support. And within 2 hours, he was taken off at 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and he died at 12:15 or something like that. And his parents, his mum especially, I'm not sure where his dad was, but I was watching the interview, and his mum saw him turn blue. She saw him die. Oh my God. Sorry, that one got me. And I was watching this interview, and she's just, of course she's losing her shit. She's just lost her baby, so you know, as a woman, and I've never actually got the chance to be a mother. I've been a mother to others. I've been definitely a surrogate mother to. I have not birthed my own, but I've definitely taken on other people's kids. And I can tell you that kind of decision is never a good one. And she fought right up until the end. She wanted to keep him going. And of course, we have to understand that the NHS has to give priority to individuals that will survive. And we can't just keep everyone going because it's, you know, it seems like the nice thing to do. This is about limited resources and prioritising people. And her argument was that the NHS is broken. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know, because, I mean, it's cruel to watch your child die. But at the same time, we have to look at this realistically. He wasn't going to survive. He was in the vegetative state. He died within 2 hours of being taken off life support. There's nothing that could have been done to resuscitate, to, you know? This is unfortunately one of the harsh realities. And as a woman, you have to actually face these realities. So when we get the choice of, like, having to watch something we have birthed and loved die, and then you take that decision out of our hands, it's cruel. I can understand the cruelty behind it. There is an argument that, you know, basic human rights in America at this point, I think it's Roe versus Wade or something like that, something that was decided so long ago that it would be okay to do it, and then suddenly everyone flipped and it's like it's not okay anymore. And it's like, well, it's not your decision. It is down to the individual. This woman has had to, you know, completely dislodge her life to understand what is going on in the first place, and then make the ultimate decision to end something that is already within her. I mean, I've had 2 miscarriages. I know what it's like to have things die inside you. It's fucking horrible. It's horrible. I mean, there's 2 things I still haven't dealt with myself, and that was years ago. But to have to make the call yourself, I didn't have a choice and mine died. I was just young and it just happened. I didn't have a choice, it just happened. But to have to make the call yourself is probably one of the hardest decisions you're ever going to have to make. To know that you can't support this child, you can't save this child. And it's not just a case of, oh, it's something I didn't want. There could be something like legitimately genetically wrong with the baby as well, and so you have to abort because for the sake of its life and quality of life, it wasn't going to make it, or it would be, you know, it would lead to some kind of tortured existence. Or worst thing I can ever fucking think of. The worst thing I can ever think of, that is a rape baby. Can you imagine if you were violated in such a way and you did fall pregnant, and not only did you fall pregnant, you have to do STD checks, STI checks. You have to live with this thing, this crime, this violation for 9 months. And then you have to voluntarily birth it. Not that you wanted to go through birth in any fucking way. I mean, it's a terrifying ordeal. But not only were you raped, you have to birth it as well. And then you have to raise it. And know that this person, I mean, what woman would honestly easily give up her baby, even if it was a rape baby? And then, of course, you're staring into the eyes of the man that raped you for the rest of your life. You're living with someone else's crime. I mean, it's constant reliving of a crime. And I know you say, like, the sins of the father aren't passed on to the child, but it's a constant fucking reminder of what happened to you. And women have done this. This is already in the works. Women who didn't have a chance to get an abortion. They never caught the killer, or maybe it was a family member or something like that. And of course, you've stuck with this baby that's just, it's just cruel. Not only that, you're torturing the woman for the rest of her life. She's got this, and the baby doesn't know. Baby's sitting there just existing, doesn't know its parentage, doesn't know what happened or how it got there, and it's just trying to exist. I mean, imagine finding out, you know, at my age, 37, that you are the result of a rape. and just fucking crazy. That's the worst thing I could possibly think of. I seem to think they're just saying, it seems to be a big case of that they think that women just do this shit on a whim. It's like, no, there's serious circumstances that go around with these things. It's not something we ever take lightly. It's crazy. It blows my mind. And I'm not one for taking life. I'm not that kind. For Christ's sake, I'm a vegetarian. I don't even eat meat. So I can't take animal life, let alone human life. But it's insane. And there was trauma associated when I miscarried. I had 2 miscarriages. I was 21 years old and 23 when I had my second one. And I still have not dealt with the fallout from that myself. And that's I'm 37 now, it's 15, 17 years later. I still sit and I watch some baby videos and you just find yourself spontaneously crying. It's really weird. So imagine that you've had a hand in the end of that life. The guilt associated with that. And then to take the right of the human body, out of the hands of someone else, that they have no choice at all, is that you're making them sit with this conception that was not wanted, not needed, forced upon them possibly. And as a result of a complete violation, and you're forcing them to have this for the rest of their life. And then forcing this individual out into the world that doesn't know where it came from, doesn't know it's the result of some absolute violation, criminal act. To me, to be able to, you're stopping women from getting abortions, not only, you're clipping their wings, you're also promoting and enabling people to get raped. It sounds harsh, but you're saying that it's okay because the result isn't as bad as you think it is. It's like, no. If you conceived a baby in rape, it's hell for the woman. And the man might never be caught. He might never come to justice. And so he's just got away with this. Even though the DNA evidence is sitting there in a life form. It's ridiculous. It violates human. Who are these people to decide whether you as an individual can, have a surgery essentially that could save your life? What if these women turn suicidal afterwards? And it's the direct result of having to carry out a rape baby. I'm sure it's probably happened before. Women that just cannot handle the circumstances under which they've been thrown under by the government and the legal system. And they just kill themselves. How many suicides each year are gone from that? It's not the right of the government to decide what a woman does. And ultimately it comes down to the individual. If you're taking it from a religious sense, their claim is that it's divinely appointed, it's divine right, that the child should see life, if you're taking it from a religious sense. What God would support rape and say, this is my will? It's like, I'm not atheist, I'm not anti-divine, I'm a divinist. I believe that, but I believe that the divine is not cruel. I do feel like this would be a learning curve for the woman. She would need intense strength to get through having an abortion. My sister-in-law's had an abortion. I guess it was an accidental baby that there's no way in hell they could have looked after at the time. They were not in a position to do anything that was good for it, and so she had to have one. There are worse circumstances, but I don't think the divine would have been cruel enough to put a woman in that circumstance where she would have to birth a rape baby. It's disgusting. I think that is more in line with human ego saying these are rules, we have to follow them because, and dare I say it in a sexist sense, a white man has decided these are the rules and so we will follow them. It's like, you've never had a uterus, these people probably never been raped, never been violated in that way. I can't imagine. I mean, to me, it's one analogy, and it might be an extreme one. Imagine if a man, one of these, old white men who seem to be controlling politics at the moment. I don't know who it is. I don't think it's Biden. I think he's just a figurehead. But, imagine if this man got raped by another man, and he got HIV. And he was denied treatment because the laws say, or someone in government in control said, oh, if you get, HIV from homosexual sex, tough cookies, we're not gonna help you. It's illegal to help you because this was something you chose to do. It's the act of the divine. It's God's will. I mean, do you think there would be some kind of an uproar about this person who's not be able to get HIV treatment because? And you have to live with that. You'd have to live with it, and you'd die from it, maybe, if it developed into AIDS. I mean, there's women would have to live with this potential rape baby, and if their mental health wasn't strong enough, not resilient enough, they might kill themselves because of it. It would develop into suicidal tendencies. I mean, they're not taking into consideration the individual, the welfare of the individual as well. It seems to be a violation of human rights. I mean, honestly, it's down to the individual because I could never have an abortion myself. I'm lucky and I'm fortunate in that I've never had to come across that yet. That's not to say it won't happen to me, but if I ever have to, I would love to have the choice, to be able to make that choice as an adult, as a person who has my own belief systems, my own values, the right to make my own decisions, knowing that, despite paying my taxes for this government to exist, I wouldn't have it dictate what my quality of life will be for the next how many years through, their actions and policies inadvertently. It's control. It is control. It's someone who has no concept of what you've gone through, who you are, telling you that you can't do something which puts you in a position which could remove your quality of life. It could go very downhill. You might have to raise this child. You could adopt it out, yes, but your mental health and everything will go downhill if you're stuck with this thing that you can't get over. And it's honestly, it's like being raped again. It's like, not only do you not have a choice in how you conceive the child, you don't have a choice in how you deal with the problem. And not that any baby or child is ever a problem. I always think the babies are a blessing, because if they're not what you wanted, it's still a learning curve. You can still learn from this. You can hone in your parenting skills or something like that. You will learn to survive better. I don't see it as children are curses. I don't like the way in which people get them. Rape is never acceptable. I mean, and to take it further, in a more horrific way, what if it was a pedophile rape? What if a 12-year-old girl got raped and she conceived? And girls, I've got girls in my school, 8 years old, they're on their period. 8. Can you imagine getting pregnant at 8? And what if it's by some gross, weird uncle or granddad? You've got this incestuous baby to an 8-year-old. Insane. And you're not allowed to abort it. You have to see it to term. Although that's a minor. So it's like, are they still susceptible to the adult laws? I don't know. But imagine 8 years old. Raped. Pedophile rape. Babies. Girls at this age, they're still babies. They're not physically equipped to deal with that. They're just... Even at 20, I had difficulty dealing with losing my virginity physically. It was still painful. It was still all these things. And guys have no fucking idea how painful sex can be. I mean, my ex-boyfriend he rough fucked. You ever had your taint punched in? Yeah, same deal. You've got no concept of what it's like to have or receive a cock. Can you imagine? 8 years old, pregnant, can't abort because the law says no. So what do? You can't do anything. You've got you've got no right. I mean, there is something to, even the right to the child. It's like the child has no rights to protect itself in that case because the government says you have to see this baby full term. It's fucked up. I don't know why they suddenly decided it's okay, and I doubt it would be, divine inspiration for an 8-year-old to get pregnant through pedophilia. It's like, I doubt it would be God's will. So I'm not even vouching for that side of it. The health things associated with people who try and perform their own abortions. Coat hangers. Didn't Oprah do it or something like that? With a coat hanger. A wire coat hanger. I'm sitting going, you're trying to get an infection? You're going to kill yourself in the process. It's insane. People panic. They don't know what to do. No one's going to help them, so they have to take care of business themselves. And they find ways and means to do it which are not kosher and not healthy. And, it's insane. And they could kill themselves in the process. One wrong move and you've just skewered yourself. And it's insane. I can't. Whew. Bloody hell. I mean, God forbid I should ever have to go through that, but for women who do, oh my God, it's insane. But to be able to go to somewhere where it's safe, it's traumatic enough to have to decide to do it. I can assure you, we are in full depth and understanding of what we are doing. We know what this is. We're not doing this. We're not detached from this. We know it's part of us. There's no way we could isolate ourselves from this instant. There's no way, because you will feel that ripple effect months, years afterwards, after doing it. I know I still do after having a miscarriage, and that wasn't something I voluntarily did. The women are in full knowledge of what's going to happen, and then to have someone else say no for us, it's like we're being parented, but in a controlling way. It's like you are not intelligent enough to make the decision for yourself. We don't trust that you will make the right decision. Therefore, we've taken control of the situation and making this practice illegal. That's what it says to me. And anyone ever told me what to fucking do, I'd go, fuck you. My body, yes, my choice. I might choose not to abort, but at the same time, it's having the choice. You don't get to tell me what to do, especially if this thing was conceived in rape. It's just a double violation. Not only have you have I no control in conception, I have no control in how I fix the problem. It's insane. I would love to see a man go through what it's like to have a uterus as well. That's why I don't understand when I get a bunch of guys saying identify as a woman. It's like, you mean that in gender terms, I hope, because if you were talking about biological side of business, you are going to hate yourself as soon as you get a uterus. It is a unpleasant experience, to say the least. It is messy. It is irritating. It gets in the way. Yes, we have the ability to reproduce human beings. Try that. Yes, we make people. We carry people. But it ain't fucking fun, I can tell you. Anyone who's gone through childbirth knows that shit. No amount of drugs makes it a fucking pleasure cruise. It is cruel at times as well. And I'm not just talking about like menstrual cramps. It's ovaries that don't want to fucking work. Cysts, polyps, endometriosis that immobilizes your hips because it decides to just latch on to shit. It's crazy. It's like the amount of fucking shit we get with a uterus, and then having some douche fuck turn around and say, you don't have a choice in whether you abort or not. I can see why women are angry in that country. It's like, I'm pretty sure in Australia we're fine to abort because my sister-in-law had an abortion. In the UK, I'm pretty sure you're fine to abort. for some reason, I cannot understand why suddenly, in supposedly the land of freedom, you're fucking taking away their freedom. It's like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And they're the the country that's the most promoting of freedom. It's like, besides the French, French Revolution, the Americans are like, we value our freedoms, but not for women. It's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I mean, how long until, men start getting raped with HIV and then denying treatment? I'm not saying it should happen. It's a horrible tragedy, and I can't believe it spread as fast as it did. It's insane. HIV is, oh my God, that's a whole nother podcast. I can't believe it. And that is a real tragedy, because people aren't telling people they've got HIV. They're just giving it at times, and it's like, that is a crime in itself, because you are endangering someone else's life by doing that. But I am amazed that anyone is voting anti-abortion at this point. It's like, I mean, if it's down to the individual. You need to take account for your own actions. In both the, atheist sense, it's down to the individual. You take account for your own issues. And a non-atheist sense, it's like, even if it was like, oh, you're going to hell because you aborted a baby, well, that's down to them then, isn't it? I mean, isn't it in the Bible that thou shalt not judge, or something like that? I've got to remember now, it's been a few years. But you are not God, and you're not here to judge. It's not your job to tell people that they should be doing. I mean, they see them as some kind of savior for these people who are obviously misinformed and don't know what they're doing, and it's not your place to play God. I mean, ironically, if it is God's duty to take life and give life, then the individual committing the abortion, it's theirs. They take accountability for whether they play God or not. I mean, we are not here to judge. We're not allowed to. I mean, we're gonna do it because we're human. But in terms of, holding someone's arms so they can't do something, I mean, it's not our place. If it's murder, then that's down to the individual. Again, if it's... At this point, I see it... The real problem is defining what counts as living or not. Because a heartbeat and brain waves and things like that, is it living? That's the question, though, because if we take it out of the uterus at that stage, will it survive? Premature babies, the survival rate of premature babies is horribly low. There's a fucking trauma in itself, just watching your baby, will it not survive, sort of thing. And we try as much as we can to promote life in that, obviously, because now once it's out, and we have to look after it. But once it's in, it's still in. It's up to, hand of God, I suppose, if you want to go that way. If we didn't have all the science and technology to make things survive, I know right now, if you're going through a miscarriage, I mean, I missed treatment for mine, obviously, because mine was out by the time I got to emergency. I'm like, fuck. My second one was out. My first one, yeah, eventually came out. Oh my God, do you really want to go into that? But I know if you're going through the first stages of miscarriage these days, they can pump you full of drugs and it'll like hold, or they'll put a stitch in and it'll hold, or there are things they can do. But once it's out, it's out. I mean, if this was the wild and we didn't have all this technology and ways to save things, we just have to accept that this is what happens and let it go and try again when everything's sort of leveled out and cleared out. I mean, who are we to decide what someone can actually do with their body? I mean, if there was life-saving surgery, if it was the amount of people that get elective surgery where it's, I want my nose fixed, or I want a boob job or something like that, which has no real impact on anyone's life in a positive way. It's just vanity. They have no problem with that kind of a surgery. But abortion, absolutely no. Even though it could save someone's life because the mental trauma and things that goes with it. It's very odd. Having said that, I'm sure the women will use their brain if they absolutely need to, and they'll just skip state to one of the states that actually advocate it. Because fuck the third state, quite frankly. I mean, they're going through enough problems right now with all COVID and recession looming and things like that. And then you've got a woman who has no money, most likely, who's facing abortion. Stressed enough. I mean, fuck off. Skip state, go on a road trip. Have a weekend to yourself. Get yourself sorted out and then come back. I mean, that is horribly one of the decisions women have to make in that country. It's like to make the choice to, I mean, what kind of a vacation is that? It's like I had to take a road trip to save my life. That's horrible. It's not a decision a woman should have to make. It's like she should be able to do it within the safety of her own environment. If she hasn't got the money to travel to do it, she's going to get stuck with this decision. It wasn't even a decision at times, you know. Sometimes it's a decision, sometimes it's not. I mean, I swear to God, they just assume that women do this accidentally, or, well, maybe it was accidentally, but maybe it was like without thought. It's like, what woman readily just has sex without thought? Particularly without protection. These days, it's like since the invention of the pill, women are more cautious now. Even now, because not only have we got pregnancy to worry about, we've got fucking STDs, AIDS, all this kind of shit. We're not going out there willy-nilly. It's like, it's not on a whim that we decide to do these things. There's still a safety issue there. So if you accidentally get pregnant, believe me, it probably wasn't, you know, I mean, even if you're going out just to get laid, I know some people that are just promiscuous and just go out and go, I'm just going to fuck anything. But at the same time, they'd go on the fucking pill or something, you know? They're not stupid. So if you get pregnant and you're on the pill, and that's how I got pregnant, to be honest, I was on the pill and it just didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work, actually. It's very strange because I was very good with it. But I didn't see it coming, and to be honest, the miscarriage was a blessing compared to having to try and get an abortion, because I was too young to deal with that shit. Even now, I don't deal with that shit really well. The threat of getting pregnant is still, I mean, I'm not having sex lately, but you know, it's still there in my mind, and I'm 37, I'm past my fertile years, my natural fertile years. You still get like celebrities going, I'm 45 and I just conceived. It's like, no, you didn't, you had IVF, that's not natural. Come on. That's putting the odds very much in your favor in that regard. If you conceived at 45 naturally without any kind of help, that would be interesting. Not that I'm saying there's a problem with IVF. If you really want to, go for it. It's not my thing. I don't want kids. I've got to the point where I'm just like, I am good. It's like I have passed that stage of, oh, wouldn't it be cute to have a mini me running around? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm really good. It's like there's a lot of hassle and fuss and mess, and I'm just, I'm good. Pass. I'll be the cool aunt with all the money. I'm good with that. Auntie Charlotte turns up. She gives us candy, and when she's 18, she gives us alcohol. No, wait, hang on. Don't do that. Don't do that to your nieces and nephews. But yeah, it's like there's still a danger for me to get pregnant at this age, even now. I don't want to get pregnant. I would love to have the right to have an abortion if I needed to, if I decided it to. You know, I probably wouldn't, because I don't know if I could. But at the same time, that would be a decision I'd have to make at the time. What were my circumstances? What's the context for it? Is it a rape baby? Is it something I decided to do and then changed my mind? Is it, I mean, it's not something you just do on a whim. There's deep thought involved with abortions, deep thought, and a lot of emotional trauma and stuff associated with abortions for women. I know that one for a fact. No woman is that cold-hearted that she'll just do it on a whim and not care. It's all of this is ingrained into the whole process, and why people are so angry right now with, you know, I think you should make the practice available, and it should be down to the individual to choose whether they want to or not. No one's going to force an abortion on you. Not, not unless they're absolutely sick and fucking twisted. And that includes, parents whose kids get fucking aborted and stuff like that. It is ultimately down to the individual. It is. Take it into consideration. I don't know. All right. I'm just starting to pull up to my school, so I'm going to have to end this podcast. I'm sorry if this was a really sad podcast. I know there are thousands, if not millions of women going through this kind of shit. At least this was insight into one person's ideas about this. Hopefully on the way back from work it will be a more upbeat podcast. I'm hoping they sort out this shit in America. I can't imagine how women can be so restricted in this day and age that a man can decide what they do with their body. I don't know. It just seems very Middle East. I don't know. Is that just me, or it's like for some country that purports to have freedoms, losing one of them by not allowing women to have the choice to do that. Not that I ever would, but I'd like to have the choice to. It's like, people that get sick with cancer and stuff like that. You don't ultimately say, oh, you were born this sex and therefore you don't get treatment. It's like, what? I mean, some people opt not to have cancer treatment. My granddad didn't have cancer treatment. He was late in his life and he said, look, quality of life isn't worth it. He spent the rest of his life on chemo. So he decided not to have treatment. That was his choice. That was the way he wanted to go. And he did. He made the most of what he did. But he had the choice. He opted out, but he had the choice. Women need the choice. I mean, you're just taking away yet another one of our rights. We have the right to this. We have the right to life and death. We conceived it. We have the right to take it out of it. Crazy. Oh, if you're a woman and you're going through this, I'm wishing you the most love I can possibly give you. I'm so sorry you've had to go through this. I've had to go through miscarriages. I know it's not nice. It's not. It's cruel. And to be able to have to be the one to make the call. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. You absolutely have my support in this. Try and get through it. Get as much help as you can. It's insane. All right, I'm gonna have to leave you there. What to take away from this? Oh God. I hope men understand what the fuck we're going through. I really do. From this, they won't until they actually live it themselves, will they? So, oh God. I hope you have a great day. I hope find something nice to take your mind off this for this point, because it is not a very nice, wholesome topic. It is a very serious, very painful topic for many. It is another issue of the rights of the individual, same as the right to protection, shelter, things like that, beliefs. I hope they figure out that. I'll be doing another podcast this afternoon, hopefully, because I know tomorrow I've got a short drive to work, so it's going to be a different topic. I'm going to choose that right now, actually. I will choose... Ooh, the gym. So we're going to talk about the gym. Okay. Hopefully more upbeat than this horrible, serious business. The gym. Yeah. Okay. All right. So have a good one today. Try and find something more upbeat than what I just talked about. It's horrible. I know it's serious, but my God, I hope they sort it out. And I'm so glad that I live in a country where this isn't a thing. This isn't a problem. Okay. Have a good one. I'll see you this afternoon when I start doing my other podcast.
So in the same way, in the intervals between this year's leaves, last year's leaves, this